almost everything written language is taken for a grain of salt these days because everyone just assumes ChatGPT wrote it. So it's like, as long as you don't misspell things or mess up your cover letter, it's never, no one's going to read your cover letter and be like, this is the guy. But if I feel like I can trust someone, I honestly almost always sell myself into an outcome before I even talk to the person. Like, I'm the most lay down sale ever. I'm like, just get done with the pitch so I can give you my credit card. Like, I already know I want to pay you for this thing.
Welcome back to BackTracks, the #1 podcast where we go back into the lives of successful individuals and examine exactly what makes them so unique. Why are they winners when other people aren't? Today, I'm joined with the #1, the one and only Delaney William. How you doing today, brother?
Doing fantastic. Excited to be here.
Dude, I'm happy that you're here. For those of you listening to the show today, Delaney William is the founder of Elevated Tech. It's a remote job placement company. They help people job stack, get jobs online, and increase their incomes. This company, in my understanding, was motivated from personal experience where you were able to stack up to 3 full-time jobs, all remote work jobs, and build a pretty awesome life for yourself.
100%.
That's really cool stuff. Delaney, let's start with the most important question. What's your favorite meal?
Favorite meal? Man, I'm all about just a good meat veggie combo. Really anywhere. Just like, give me a bowl. I don't like, it's consistency, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not about the omelet life where every bite's basically the same bite. It's got to be like roasted sweet potatoes with like a bunch of different veggies in it. Throw some like steak or...
There we go.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like that flower child is totally your...
Yeah, flower child, picnic, anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are good spots. I love that. Yeah, well, thank you for being here. You know, I heard something today that eating like grains, like eating potatoes, starches, like starch type food and steak at the same time or meat at the same time is actually like they counteract because like starches digest with a basic environment and meat digests in an acidic environment.
Gotta watch out for that.
Gotta watch out. So the more
you can't do anything right these days.
Dude, you know what? There's too much optimization.
You just got to become a breatharian.
Yeah.
Just breathe to get your calories.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just sum your balls and breathe, and that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah. Water's going to poison you, so just avoid that at all costs.
Yeah. The atrazine in the water is turning frogs gay, so we might as well just...
Yeah.
Just breathe. Just breathe. That's pretty fun. That's it. Yeah. That's the secret sauce. All right, you guys are here to hear first. Make sure to like, subscribe, go ahead and follow the podcast. Thank you so much for listening. That's it. We're done. Yeah, that's all we needed.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Oh man, I love that. I am super curious. So my understanding, and you can confirm, you went from making like 80 grand a year with a remote tech job, and then you were able to stack 3 of those jobs to make up to $390,000 in 1 year. 390K at how old were you at the time?
27.
So you're 27 years old, on track, and your earnings is coming in at $390,000 a year. I mean, that's doctor money. Why not just do that? Why complicate your life and do all this other stuff?
Yeah, fantastic question. And I feel like I have to communicate this a lot to people. There was no end game for me in that. And there are days for sure waking up running a company where I have like now 25 employees and it's stressful and there's a lot going on. It's like, man, that was honestly so easy. And to a lot of people, it'd be hard to work multiple remote jobs. And it was challenging in its own right. But compared to entrepreneurship and being responsible for so much, yeah, it's completely different. But for me, there was no end game. And even like when I started in corporate out of college, 22. Within 6 months to a year, I knew it wasn't going to fulfill me long term. And that's why I stayed in that low paying job for literally 6 or 7 years, because it was chill and it allowed me to do entrepreneurial things. And my heart was always in entrepreneurship, being able to find a way to impact people. I think my life was really challenging in a lot of ways, and I needed something deeply fulfilling to actually put me on the right track and give me something to get excited about.
Okay. So this was kind of for a couple of years, you're in incubation zone where you're trying things, you're building community, you're experimenting in your own personal life, but you're also just stacking cash. And I'm assuming that while you're doing those jobs, you're just kind of saving up, looking for an exit plan or...
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I didn't really start making legit money until I was 27. When I started this company, for a while, it was literally just 80K. But that was enough to get me by. Yeah. And I was able to earn money doing other things. So
I'm curious, why stack jobs at 27? When you went from the one job at 80K, like what led to the decision of getting the second job and then the decision to get the third?
Absolutely. So since I was about 24, I had my eye on online coaching. So if I could go back and show younger Delaney what I'm doing now, he'd be so excited about it. But at the time, I was like, one corporate job is good enough. It pays my bills. I can like try to start a business. I found mentors to help them build and grow their coaching businesses. So my heart was set on make your income doing what you love. I think that has been
Yes.
pitched from the gurus since 2017. Is just like, if you're not doing what you love, you're miserable and you're not going to be happy. So I was bought into that idea that corporate is hell. It's horrible. There's nothing you can benefit from it. So I had no intention of a second job. And I did a bunch of things entrepreneurially, but I got really burnt out. I was at the time selling like a $3,000 to $5,000 coaching program, like a health optimization program. And it was just really hard. And for a lot of reasons, not because it couldn't work as a business model, but I was just personally burnt out from it.
Right.
And the aha moment, and this was before I even knew you could stack jobs. I thought I invented it, but like, once I found the Reddit communities, I realized other people were doing it and I figured it out for myself. But at that time, and I didn't like selling at the time. I wasn't that good at sales. I was like, I'm trying to convince people to pay me $3,000 and I have to do it all day long. Like, what if I convince one company to pay me $150K a year to do my corporate thing?
Yes.
I only have to close 3 deals or 2 deals, and then I'll be making $400K a year, and then the auto renews every year. So that reframe was really powerful to me. I was like, I have this really valuable corporate skill set that I learned to demonize because people told me to demonize it, basically, unconsciously.
That's so funny.
Yeah. But then the reframe, and if I hadn't learned all these entrepreneurial skills, I don't think I could have really realized this, but it's like, oh, I can treat my corporate skill set as a consulting company. So I don't have to get my identity from my job. It's like, I'll get you results. I'm not even going to tell you how I get you results. I'm going to treat this very transactionally. And now I actually have so much more time back for me. Like I can, rather than trying to do what I love for income, now I have money and time and I can just do what I love with my free time.
Yes.
And I became way, way, way happier.
It's so funny you say this. Some of my happiest friends are the people that have really high paying jobs. And it's like this realization that it's the shift from like entrepreneurship to intrapreneurship, of like the narrative of all of the entrepreneurs is corporate life is evil, work for yourself. But the reality is that 99% of people that believe that are actually miserable because they're going check to check, they're going client to client. They actually don't have a reliable income. They actually don't have a meaningful business. And so it's like everybody's getting pushed into, remote sales or entrepreneurship, when it's like, dude, if you're unhappy working the corporate job in that lifestyle, you're probably going to be less happy working longer hours in a more creative environment or blank canvas environment than you are with the job. Like,
yeah. And I really think there are trade-offs, right? It's like I've seen so many people, it's like a meme in Austin of people who quit their corporate job to be an entrepreneur on a everyone is. And there's trade-offs, right? There's the benefit and you're probably happier because you have more time for yourself, but it's also really stressful and painful that you don't have a consistent paycheck. And I was on a coaching call with a client yesterday. He was like, what's your take on this? He's in a similar position where he's job stacking, wants to run his own company, like when to make the switch. I personally, and not everyone will think this way, but I'm very anti-burn the boats. I'm very pro create a really long runway for yourself so that you have the time, you can build the thing and not be overly stressed out as you build the thing.
Right. Now, in your experience of build the long-term runway, make sure you're prepared, make sure you've planned ahead. My experience is, and I think differently, I'm more of a burn the boats kind of guy, but my experience has been in conversations and in my own personal life that when you approach things that way, you still end up only really crossing over when you're at the end of the runway anyway. Like the plane doesn't take off at the start of the runway. Usually it's at the end. So
yeah, I think both are very valid. I've even had some experiences in life recently where it's like, oh, when your feet are to the fire, you'll make a way through it. But at least like as we were growing and scaling our company, a lot of it I know for sure would not have happened if I hadn't built up access to capital, like making $30K a month that isn't getting taxed or barely taxed or whatever. I was able to make mistakes. I was able to invest to hire, we were just talking about YouTube ads company, like hire all these right people. And if I had bootstrapped, the company may have eventually succeeded, but that's one of the biggest reasons in my experience that it worked out this time around.
That's super cool. I'm curious with the job with the company you now run that you've started, Elevated Tech, right? What did that journey look like of moving away from your remote jobs? Like when did you make that decision? How much money did you invest? How much revenue were you making by the time you went fully into Elevated Tech and kind of let go of the remote jobs?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2024 was a big year. At the very beginning of 2024, I started my third job. So that was when I was making $390K. I launched the company as a $300 digital product at first in, I think, January.
Okay.
It wasn't until like February, it was like full realization this should be a high ticket, high white glove, very high value service. So yeah, we launched in February. Initially, right off the bat, 50K months, pretty consistently.
Okay. So you went from $300 product to how much did you start charging?
10K.
10K. So
Yeah.
300 to 10K.
Yeah.
Because you're realizing $300, I'm attracting the wrong people. I'm not able to provide the service at the level that I want to provide the service.
Yeah, it was that. It was actually less. It was more so that I didn't think it through, honestly. I was like, when I built the product, I was working 3 jobs and I was still dialing them in. So I was like, I don't have time to run a coaching business. I'll just like make passive income off this.
Yeah. So
And
productized.
Yeah.
Just toss.
And I was like, yeah, I'll figure out how to run ads to it and it'll make money because it's such a good value prop. And I met someone at a New Year's dinner at the beginning of 2024. And he's like, there's no way. And I just met him and he stopped me in my tracks. He's like, there's no way you're smart enough to figure out how to work 3 jobs making 400K and you're dumb enough to sell it at this price point.
That's right.
And it really like shook me awake. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. Let me actually think this through and just set my goal to be that. And then of course, here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
So you said February you launched at 10K and you almost immediately start hitting 50K months.
Yeah.
I think to a lot of people that are early on in their journey, whether they're entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs, going from $30,000 a year job, which is already top 1%, like you're already doing better than most people ever will, and that's a wet dream. And then you drop that and immediately start hitting 50K a month. How did you hit 50K a month right out the gate?
Yeah, for sure. And I'll circle back and finish your previous question as well. So I was still working all those jobs at this time. I let them go throughout the year. But yeah, I mean, Hormozy says sell expensive shit. That's just the thing. It's like, you're going to sell, you might as well sell something expensive.
Yes.
So what's cool is if you're able to create an offer that is so high value and you're able to sell it to someone that can pay for it, that's just 5 clients, right? We could take 20, 30 sales calls, close 5 of them, which is pretty average,
right? And
make 50K. So it sounds like a lot. And I've made a ton of suboptimal offers in the past, but we finally found the right offer.
Yes.
And I think it's really a function of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think 10K is actually, let me ask this as a question instead. Why $10,000 to a B2C, right? So it's like 10 grand to most people walking down the street sounds like a large amount of money, especially I think it's like 70% of America's paycheck to paycheck. Why 10 grand to a business consumer?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have since offered tiered pricing so we can truly support people at every level. Because for me, that's way more important. It's just like, I want to really transform the future of work for everyone and give them the tools. But initially, it's just a value proposition. And it takes a high level communicator to show someone, not convince them to buy it, but just really help them see this lens of, okay, you're earning 10K a month now. You're doing pretty well. You're making 120K. If job stacking feels aligned to you and it's something you want to do, the opportunity cost of not doing it is an extra 20K per month.
Yes.
Over a year, that's $200,000 you're not earning because you don't know how to job stack or you, for whatever reason, have not started to pursue it.
Right.
So, like, if you invest $10,000, you will, and you get any job offer that's a 6-figure job, which is not that hard to do as long as you have good experience. I mean, you 10x your ROI in a few months. Like, there's literally, and this is not to our own, but there's so few offers out there or any vehicles that you could put your money in that will 10x your ROI.
Yeah.
Like that. Obviously, you have to fulfill on your work, but that's still pretty cool.
And it's like, that's pretty high insurance of like, hey, it literally, if you come work with us, invest the 10 grand, there's almost no world where you lose money. Now, curiosity, obviously the type of person that can get a 6-figure online job is a certain type of person, right? This is probably a college graduate with a degree that has some degree of resume. How do you qualify and make sure that the people investing, like if I was, let's say I dropped out in 8th grade, I had no job, like no experience, and just somehow I had $10,000 laying around to give you, would you let me into the program, or how do you qualify to make sure the right people are coming?
Yeah. So it's pretty simple. We have a really high success rate because we've figured out how to pre-qualify people and only invite people into the program that meet these 2 things. So to place someone, and we've done it very successfully across the board, really independent, as long as they meet 2 things. The first is we can position you as an expert, like a through and through expert. 500 people apply to every job out there today. It's extremely saturated. We know how to do the bells and whistle things to make you show up at the top of the algorithm for recruiters so you get more eyeballs. But, and early on, we made this mistake of being overconfident. We've corrected since then, which is you can't really paint lipstick on a pig. So you actually have to have done impressive things. And our benchmark is at least 2 years of experience in either the field or a tangential field to what you want to pursue.
Okay.
So if you have And here's some outlier cases. It's like, okay, you've been a director of operations, which sure, there are operations roles remotely, but it was all in manufacturing. So it's really hard to reposition manufacturing experience to be relevant to some tech company, operations for a tech company. So one, we can actually position you as an expert. So to even specifically answer your question, theoretically, there are people we could help who are not college educated, depending on their work experience, right? So if you have some amazing experience that will still position you as an expert, it could still very well work. But I would say most of the time, yeah, it's college educated people. The second is how big is the field of work? So the analogy I love to use is to sales. All things being equal, which team would close more? The team that called 200 people or 2,000 people? This is a ladder. So we've seen a direct correlation with our approach is the bigger the pool of work, the more shots we could take because we have a really powerful AI tool that will apply to literally thousands of jobs a month. If we can actually reach those 1,000+ jobs a month with a good mapping of quality of resume to job posting, meaning like, okay, you want this like very niche field, we'll apply at 2,000 jobs, but it'll be a bunch of random different titles and it will really be like a direct match. When we can hit those big pools of work with an expert framed resume, that's like total success.
Yeah. So when you have a job opportunity where the job is relatively standard in the industry, like a project manager, where you have a relatively standardized work environment or work role that consistently is paying over 6 figures. Now you can apply to 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 of that exact same working dynamic instead of boutiquing down into a operational specialist for this type of company and this type of industry, where now you may have 50 opportunities to land that.
Exactly. And it's like, we can apply to all 50 of those jobs, but still 500 people applied to each one. So the numbers are not in your favor. Like, and everyone watching who might be in the job search for themselves, don't get discouraged. It truly is a numbers game. A good resume will still get rejected 99 out of 100 times.
How do you feel about customizing the cover letter? Because that used to be the thing, right? Is have a cover letter that is really... and let me also caveat, I've never had a corporate job. I've never landed a corporate job. Sure. I don't know your world at all. It's no online info community.
Yeah, of course.
But how do you feel about the customization?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have a horrible cover letter. Like, the number one thing that is influencing cover letters is obviously ChatGPT. No human is... I bet like literally 97% cover letters submitted in the last year were ChatGPT written, unless people still don't know ChatGPT exists and they don't realize you can do it. But almost everything in written language is taken for a grain of salt these days because everyone just assumes ChatGPT wrote it. So it's like, as long as you don't misspell things or mess up your cover letter, it's never... no one's going to read your cover letter and be like, this is the guy. You know, I think there are so many better ways to pulse check someone. Resume being one of them. You still have to, even in your resume, it shouldn't be so wordy because, again, you didn't come up with those fancy words, likely. Even if you did, then assume ChatGPT did, they're judging negatively. So
I have 2 questions for you, kind of rapid fire questions on the job stuff, and then I want to get more into your personal journey and entrepreneurial stuff. The 2 big questions that I have, and I'll ask both and you can answer however you like. Number one, it's like you've worked with hundreds or thousands, hundreds of people, helping them get remote online jobs, 6-figure job stacking. What are some of the outlier things that someone can do that increases probability of landing a job? Like, I'm sure you've had people that applied for 10 jobs and got the job versus someone else applied for 250 and didn't. So what are the outlier things that someone, maybe it's skill sets, experience, but what are the things that increase that probability of landing the job? And then let's actually just stick with that one question for now.
It's a good question. Yeah. So obviously many different cases and experiences, but a few things that come to mind, and this is just a very high level answer that's hopefully reassuring. One of the biggest things that sets apart someone successful with us or not is how much they're trying, like how much effort you're actually putting in. The people who are really on top of it and really committed and really doing the work, it'll work for you, like bar none. That's the biggest thing you can do. Meaning it's all a game of optimization, like understanding that you need to be able to have all the right keywords, you need to structure your resume and all your content in a way that the algorithm likes it. If you realize that and realize it's basically just like, how close can I get on a score of 100 to 100? And you're just constantly refining and being meticulous. That alone can really set you apart. Like if you can hit the algorithm, you will just keep hitting the algorithm and you'll be doing amazing. Right. And that can look like every time you apply to a job, you have a 3 to 5x response rate because you're now on page 100 or page 1. Meaning more recruiters are seeing you.
You're actually showing up.
Yeah. Or your LinkedIn is now so dialed and amazing. And here's another example on LinkedIn is not only all that optimization stuff, but the amount of clients I have, because I'm pretty like clear cut in the box corporate type people that aren't building personal brands. They have a lot of resistance to putting out content. And I think that's one of the best things you can do. Like when I did initially JobStack, I doubled my salary from 80K to 160K with nothing else changing, except I started putting out personal branded content, making me seem like a huge product management nerd. And that was free to do.
And that helped you in terms of when you put your resume out there, they look you up, they see, oh, Delaney has X amount of followers. He's making content on this. He's clearly a subject.
Yeah. And I still didn't even have followers at the time, but I systematized a process to book podcast interviews with dope like product managers at all the big cool companies, Amazon, Netflix, Hulu, whatever, and put all that up on my LinkedIn. So like that was just like different, something that nobody does.
Yeah.
So it was the aha factor. Like marketing yourself to an employer is really no different than any other form of marketing, where you need to pattern interrupt and you need to create like curiosity factor.
Right.
Like everyone's looking at these black and white resumes and it's just mind numbing and painful to do. So if you can give someone that intrigue factor. So
that is 100%. It's like, how do you create something new? Novelty is how do you disrupt? Oh yeah. So second question, which I think you actually just perfectly led into, is how do you actually do that? Like you're selling an info product, or you're selling essentially coaching or consulting, helping people in these roles. What if you have 5 people trying to get the same job in the same industry? Like, how are you making sure that your students aren't cannibalizing themselves or each other?
That's a great question. And it's for sure happening. We attract a very broad range of clients. A heavier range of those end up being product managers to hear my story. And they're like, oh, he's done that. And just like the extra pull to work with us. And we probably have like 10 product managers in the program right now who are all applying to all the same jobs.
Yes.
And I think volume solves almost everything. Like we are applying to 2,000 plus jobs a month for you. You're going to get those opportunities, and however it's supposed to self-select, it will. Like not all 10 of those people will be the perfect candidate for the perfect role.
Right.
So
now let's go into a thought experiment of you have 2 people that are perfect fit for the same job.
Yeah.
What do you do? Because they both paid you to give them the job.
Yeah.
But you have more than one person that wants the same role.
Totally. And I think this is where it comes down to, it's like equally as much on them. Like what they're paying us to do is tee up all these opportunities, and it is to get them a job. But
you're not guaranteeing placement. At the end of the day, they have to show up.
We're not. Everyone ends up getting work that actually puts in all the work. But here's the thing. It's like, okay, we're at month 2 of the program. That happens. Whichever one actually prepped better and shows up better, like I can't control how you're going to show up to the interview. Whichever one shows up and gets the offer, will accept it. Great. Both of them, we're still going to support them for the next 3.5 months anyways. So it's like, cool, that one may not have worked out, but that's how we think about it. Like, even if you get an offer and accept it, you don't know that company is actually going to be a good fit for you. You might have a psychopath manager that's micromanaging you, and it doesn't allow you to staff jobs very well. So regardless, what I love about what we do is it's an automated process that just works on your behalf. So even once you're employed, or the other person in our program beat you out for a role, it's like you still are going to have 5 or 10 interviews next week.
Yes, they're still pushing out and actually getting.
Yeah, so you're just focused on the KPI of how many interviews am I booking and how am I showing up to those.
That's you.
It's like, dude, for me, it is so competitive that after I got my second job, it took me a pretty long time to get my next one, and I got to the final round on like 10 jobs and didn't get it because it's just like it's about to be like perfect good these days. Yeah,
that's so. And I will also like caveat of like I'm curious in terms of the devil advocacy, but you could really in any industry, you can frame it in a way of you're competing, right? At the end of the day, it's like, if you don't close the high ticket client, someone else will. If you don't, land the role, someone else will. If you don't make money on the trade, someone else made your money when you lost money on the trade, right? I think in really any industry, you could argue the level of competition. So I'm not trying to disavow what you're doing. I think it's key. But I want to highlight that for those listening, that this isn't, like it's essential to understand in any single field. You can look at it as win-lose of like, if you get it, someone else doesn't. But the reality is like, yes, that's true. And if you have the mindset that there's enough opportunity for everybody, it doesn't really matter because there's always a way you can win too.
100%. It's more like us versus everyone else. Like, we're just going to stop by everyone else that's not doing these strategies. That's how my mindset about it.
Yeah. It's like you have something that works internally, so all of your people get the opportunity.
Yeah. It's like how in Austin, creators help each other.
Yes.
Imagine that exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like big enough pie.
Yeah,
we can all
100%. Now, okay, so even with that, like the team mentality, right? So you have us versus them, which is me versus them. So it's like you're just alone out in the woods. Then I think the evolution of that is like everybody within your community, or everybody within, let's say it's Austin, so it's geographical, or a paid community like yours working. At what level does that us versus them mentality not work. Because sooner or later, it's like if you have everybody applying for jobs in your community, you can no longer be trying to outcompete, right?
Yeah, that's true. If we had literally everyone in the United States in our program,
Yeah.
good problem now. But
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. I think it's tough. Like, we're leveraging a weird pocket we have in time where the job market's kind of broken, and it's like, who knows what it will look like in 5 years or so.
Do you think UBI? Because you're in the whole thing of like corporate career, standardized income. Like, I don't even know how to make regular money. Like, I'm just used to entrepreneurship, packages, monthly recurring. Like, I'm used to this world.
Yeah.
Coming from your background, do you believe universal basic income or base income is potential, or what are your thoughts on all that?
I feel like it will need to happen to a degree. I think the job market is actually pretty optimistic over the next 5 to 10 years. Let's say 10 years. I actually feel quite optimistic. I just did a YouTube video on this. Reid Hoffman, who he is?
I'm not sure.
He's the founder of LinkedIn.
Okay.
And he's had a lot of big investments, like very good at early predicting things. So I just put out this YouTube video where he was on an interview saying the 9 to 5 will be dead by 2034. So 9 years from now, the 9 to 5 will be dead. And he broke it down as like maybe a little less dramatic, but he's basically like, gone are the days where you work for one company. Everything will be fractional for the most part.
Yeah.
Like, and we can even see it because
the gig economy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can already see it, like running your own business now. It's like, I can get so much extra value if I hire someone overseas for, maybe it'll be like a 10% less quality, but for 1/20th or a 20th% of the cost point, right? And everything's about efficiency. So for that reason, and also fractional stuff, like for me, I have a sales team, and sometimes it makes sense to have full-time employees supporting you, but sometimes it also makes sense to have people who are just supporting you for 10, 20 hours a week.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
Exactly. So I do think that the market will make it less common for you to have a full-time job. But I also think the upside to all this, and the reason I'm optimistic, is it's never been easier to start and scale a company because of technology.
Yes.
So maybe every company out there that's big and bloated will have less employees, but an exponential amount of companies will be started, and they will need fractional people to be supporting them. So if you can actually really harness this wave and learn how to operate in the consulting economy and have multiple sources of income, you can totally thrive.
And that's also very bullish on what you teach, is how to land these roles, which long-term now the future is, how to land multiple roles. Because it's like, if everything's moving to job stacking, right? Where it's either you're contract stacking like a company, or you're job stacking where you're just having multiple companies that you specialize and work for. That's very bullish on what you're teaching. So in the long term there is definitely positive.
Yeah. The reason, our program that we teach is called Scale Your Salary. And so many people are like, you should call your actual company Scale Your Salary. And I've been so resistant to that because this is just a very small sliver of what I want to be doing. Because sure, job stacking, but also the amount of people who are going to be displaced in the economy, it's going to be crazy. Like, we're seeing these walking robots that can now do your laundry. Like, extrapolate that out. Who's going to be flipping burgers? If you could pay someone $100K a year or buy a $20K robot that you don't have to give breaks to,
yes,
everyone's going to start doing that, right? So
the $20K robot actually works around the clock. Like, it's real.
Yeah.
Even ChatGPT now being able to find like more like these LLM large language models are like able to look at legal information and paperwork. It's obviously like industries that are highly regulated, like law, are going to take a longer time to phase out. But it's, if you have an LLM that can train on legal information and paperwork and analyze a legal case more effectively than a lawyer can, right now this is happening.
Yeah.
Extrapolate that out. What happens when the red tape goes away?
Yeah.
Right. It's like regulation does not make your job safe.
Yeah.
Or your industry safe. So
yeah, exactly.
Very, very, or robots that are more precise than doctors. Well, imagine what that's going to look like in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So real. Yeah. So to like actually answer your question, I think UBI as a result of that is going to be essential for a fraction, if not a large percentage of us over time. I do also think like even being bullish and like just nerding out on the future, like this may be far, far out, but Elon and Amazon guy, Jeff Bezos, they're like trying to get us into space and shit.
Yeah.
I also think like, okay, cool. We have like a planet economy, but like, I don't know how long that'll take, but probably not hard to imagine us like
intergalactic.
Yeah, we have like a new economy because like we live on all these other places and shit. So
Yeah, imagine like forex trading, but it's globally. Like,
yeah, it's like what is
the Mars to US index?
yeah,
So the
what currency are you going to trade on Mars?
Yeah, yeah, that's gonna be very, very fun to find out.
So I think there will be a lot of opportunity as long as you can be adaptable.
I'm hoping that we call the Martian currency the Maroons.
Ooh, okay.
Because the
Agree for that.
Marines. Yeah, who knows? It's gonna be interesting. You know, it's funny. I look at the evolution of like having been in the online information space. So really, what's cool to me is like the online information. What ends up happening is like, how do we measure success? How do you ensure that you have a high success rate within an online info or an online paid program? And it comes down to two things: either you're teaching a skill set or you're helping get a result. Now, the trick is if you're teaching the skill set, you can really help anybody because it's just, can you do the thing yes or no before? Can you do the thing yes or no after? So you can measure success based on how competent someone is from on a score 0 to 100, how much better can they get? Versus like what you're doing, where you're helping someone get a result where it's, if conditionally you already have 2 years of experience, you already have a degree, we can help you go from this to this, which is more binary. But what's really interesting, I see like a lot of the people that fail in online info try to combine the two. It's, hey, we're going to help you build up the experience as a product manager without having the job and then land the product management job. It's like, it's not how it works. Either you have the experience and you can land the role, or you don't have the experience, will help you get the experience.
Exactly.
So it's just kind of interesting, like these coding boot camps that then do job placement. It's so brilliant because they're helping to experience, and then the back end sale is, well, now you have the experience. Do you want the result?
Yeah.
You know.
And the unfortunate thing about that, if I'm just watching, just be wary about it. We enrolled a guy this last week who he had been promised that of like do this coding boot camp and then have a job at Amazon type deal afterwards. And it was like a 17K program and then no job after.
Yeah. That's I think the oversell under deliver is like, if you're selling to someone with no experience or real skill set and you're selling them a result, you're setting them up to fail. Cause it's like, the guy that didn't graduate high school and he didn't get a, what's the deferred diploma? Like he has no like credible experience in a corporate environment. He's probably not going to get results in your program. And that's realistic. Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, let's not set him up to fail. And so it's like, for him, it's like, well, how does he get the experience? How does he get his GED or deferred diploma? How does he get the actual resume so that when he has that conversation, he can win?
Yeah.
It's out. Yeah. But I've noticed that so many people are trying to sell both. And it's like, it's just setting pieces.
It's a great cash.
Yeah. 100%. Sell the dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a wild world. And then the other side of that I've been really curious about recently, and I want to get your thoughts on this, is credibility, right? So like institutional credibility, like, oh, I went to this college or I went to this university, I have this diploma. That type of credibility is getting eroded. It's people are less likely to, or less inclined to ask exactly where you went to college, exactly what degree you have. And so it's less credible. And now you have all these people, like I especially see it in like breathwork coaches and like nutritionists, like all these people in like the health and wellness space. They're like, oh, I'm a certified instructor in this, or oh, I'm a certified,
You, bro.
Where'd the certification come from? Right. And so I'm super curious what your thoughts are. The thing that I have intrigue about is credibility, and how do we like kind of verify that it's a credible source?
Yeah. Like, well, I'm a certified job stacking coach. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You have the piece of paper on your wall.
Yeah. I wrote it myself in crayon.
Yeah, we put a fancy logo on it.
Exactly. A little stamp. There's like a green check on it. So, it's legit.
The Delaney Institute of Higher Learning and Remote Job Stack. Exactly. Masters and a PhD.
Yeah.
It's true.
100K. We'll certify you.
Yeah. There we go. You get the piece of paper. You get the award. It's funny because humans want that, right? Yeah. It's like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels did so well with the 2 comma club.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, this guy actually did the 2 commas. So
yeah. That's legit for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're so conditioned by the education system. Mm-hmm. Like, even though it's eroded, that psychology is still there.
Yeah.
It's like, show me a piece of paper that proves you can do it.
Yeah. Well, because humans rely on social proof.
Yeah.
The thing that I start coming to is like this concept of like, okay, well, maybe we just make our credibility and the way that we verify, like maybe instead of giving people certifications based on, okay, I spent $100,000 and I went to this college for 4 years and I maintained a above 2.0. Well, maybe instead of giving someone credibility for that, it's a demonstration of capability or expertise. And so it's like some kind of result. So it's like, oh, you actually were able to make a certain amount of income, like the 2 comma club, or, oh, you're actually able to maintain a 10% body fat at whatever weight for however long. So you can say that you actually understand fitness, or you're able to land 3 jobs. It's like that social proof. How do we turn that into the variation of certificate? Yeah. That can actually rival a college education.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, you run an online business. I'm sure you're a high aware of this too, but trust across the board is at an all-time low. Yeah. And yeah, the piece of paper doesn't really mean anything to most people. And it is just that. Like, you can have a super successful online business if you can showcase that you can do the thing. You know, and for us, that's it. It's just documenting the journey so we can be like, hey, you could listen to me. I don't really care if you trust me or not, but here, look at all these videos, look at all these comments, whatever. You know,
you actually have some degree of social proof.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, super key. I am curious, in terms of your own personal online journey, what has that mindset around trust been like? Talking about social proof and trust, like there was definitely some key decisions you made where trust played a role, either trust in yourself and your belief in getting the new job or launching the company, or trust in someone else that you paid money. Like we're talking about the YouTube ads guy, a mutual friend of ours, for those listening. Where have been some key moments where trust was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it?
Yeah. I mean, I think any entrepreneurial journey is littered with trust. You have to have a lot of that. Yeah, so much of it. I think at the beginning, and even going back to benefit of like, not just job stacking, but find a way to have a little bit of buffer. I actually had a little bit of opportunity. I could make a couple mistakes. That would be fine. It wasn't like my last $10,000. Like, that's a tougher situation. And we talk to people, and then people join our program that it's like, I'm going to have to put this on a credit card, benefit deal, which is a very vulnerable position to be in.
Yeah. That's real trust.
Yeah. That's 100%.
Vulnerable, desperate trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes down to, at least for me, when I've made those type of decisions, it's, can I trust your character? Of like, I'm going to do a little digging. You know, I want to assess like, okay, sure, this is who he is on camera. Are there testimonials? Like, but if I feel like I can trust someone, and I honestly almost always sell myself into an outcome before I even talk to the person. Like, I'm the most lay down sale ever. Yep. I'm like, just get done with the pitch so I can give you my credit card. Like, I already know I want to pay you for this thing. So yeah, I think there's a combination of intuition and, you know, partly, unfortunately, like, I've made some dumb investments in the past and I didn't know how to ask the right questions or assess it the right way. And I think you also learn through. Sure. If you just trust no one and don't take any leaps of faith, you'll stay stuck and never make any growth. So it's like, you know, you could lose some money on a deal and then still become better for it. And 10 years later, you're like exponentially different person.
I completely agree. Now, someone like you, let's say you invest 10 grand into something and it burns you, right? You was the wrong decision to make, especially as an entrepreneur. Like, this happened to me a million times. Same thing in dating, right? You date a girl, she cheats on you. How do you personally recover that ability to trust someone, right? Because it's like, you could date the girl, she cheats on you. I'm never trusting women again. All women are the same. You make the $10,000 investment, it burns you. I'm never investing ever again. How are you recovering that ability to trust so then you can trust someone else again?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's all in relation to where am I and where do I want to get to? Like, I think everyone should hopefully have total clarity of what do you want your life to look like on XYZ timeline, and realize that if you really want that life, there are certain decisions you'll probably have to make to create that reality. So early on, I worked with this guy who was, promising, honestly, a few times. I think I spent about $20K on this done for you client acquisition system. And she just ghosted me and shut down her LLC and like took my $20K. That sucks. Yeah. But ultimately I was like, that sucks. I couldn't even make that investment again right now if I wanted to at that time.
Right.
This is before job stacking. And ultimately, when it came around to launching this business, intuitively, I'm like, I'm trying to get here. I need this puzzle piece filled. So I have no other option than to find the right person. And I will do my due diligence. I try my best to never act out of like fear or insecurity, but I know what I want because I'm clear on where I'm trying to get to. And when I find something that matches that, I just execute on it.
100%. I love that. I think that what I've noticed in my personal life, and same thing, losing a lot of money and very poor decisions, it's like, that whole framework, I either fail or it's either I win or I learn, right? So the framework, I win or I learn. When I fail, either the relationship doesn't work as planned or the investment doesn't work out. In my experience, like those types of situations, like you invest in a girl, she took your 20 grand and ran. But it's like, I'm starting to ask myself, I'm like, okay, what things could I have seen before? Like what red flags, what behavior traits, what characteristics, what kind of homework should I have done on the front end, questions I could have asked. So it's like, what can I learn about this? So what behavioral things can I learn about this so that I can move forward? And then also and I think this is the issue, like trust issues for me, what I've examined is, if I still have a trust issue after something, I haven't gotten to the core issues as to why it went wrong. And so it's like, if I trust that I've done the right analysis, like you looking back on this girl that took your 20 grand and ran, if you figure out you could have done the homework, you could have found out she was actually a scammer before it happened. There were certain due diligence questions you could have asked, red flags to look out for. If you really understand all of that, you can make your next $20,000 investment with confidence that you're not going to repeat the same mistake.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is people get burned on the 20 grand. They get emotional about it. They never figure out what actually went wrong, what they could have done better.
100%.
And then it's like, well, of course you don't trust yourself to make the other 20K investment and move towards your goals.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what went wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's the scary thing is, it's like, okay, do your due diligence, and now you can trust yourself to make the next decision move into your future. Silly humans being silly humans. Curious for you, you made some pretty monumental leaps. So now you have a business that's, I'm not going to disclose your numbers, but you're doing very well for yourself. The company's growing. You went from 80K a year to 390K a year to, I'm not going to disclose your numbers, but more than that now. What mindsets, what internal identities have you had to shift to go from 80 to 390 to now?
Yeah. I mean, I think it really goes back to the thing we were just talking about of like, where do I want to get to?
Mm-hmm.
Who do I need to be to get there?
Mm.
What skills do I need to acquire? And or what people do I need enabling those things to happen? That's been really the framework.
Walk me through because you mentioned it before, 80,000 to 160,000. You doubled your income.
Yes.
What specifically did you change to do that?
Yeah. So really the whole process was the same. It was the same system, which is now the system we teach. That was just on repeat, which is cool. So it really was just, and it was clunkier at the beginning because it wasn't as dialed as it is now. Yeah. But it was really, if I had to distill it down to one word, it's a systemization of everything, right? How do I free up my time to do the high leverage things, which was start a podcast, do content, actually upskill myself, build a nice personal brand online, and get applying to jobs off my plate and increase the number of interviews I'm getting consistently. So it was solving for that problem.
Okay.
So I was like, who do I want to be? I want to have this like cool personal brand, and I want to be really appealing to cool companies, even though I have a very average resume at this time. So that was the core of actually starting to stack those roles.
So you're $80,000 a year. You look at yourself in the mirror and you go, I'm not who I want to be. And what I want to be looks like this much money, this type of personal brand, this type of presence, the cool kid, right? The person that you look up to inside of yourself. So you go, okay, this is who I want to be. This is where I am now. I need to figure out these 5 things I'm doing every day I should stop doing. These things that I'm doing in my job, I can either hire or automate or delegate out so I can save time there. And then what I need to be doing that this person's doing that I'm not is creating the podcast, is posting the content, is sending out applications for other jobs. And then you just kind of had the hit list.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, the person that I want to be has 2 jobs, so let me start applying, and here's what that looks like. And they do podcasts, so here's what that looks like.
Absolutely. I think the biggest, and I said it, but I want to just re-articulate it for the audience too. I think the biggest distinction is, yes, you need to get these things done, but it doesn't necessarily have to be you doing it. Like if you can build a system that does it for you, being really clear on what should I do, what's worth my time, and what still needs to get done on my behalf, but what can I systematize so I don't actually have to do it? That unlock is what really changed the game.
That's huge. Okay, so on that note specifically, the 2 kind of issues that I hear a lot in entrepreneurship is like, I don't know what I need to do. So it's like, how do you figure out what actually needs to get done? And then the second part of that is like, how do you hire someone else to do something that you're not necessarily like, you're like, okay, I know I need to apply to jobs. So that's question number 1 is, what do I need to do? How do you figure that out? And then question number 2 is, well, how do you delegate someone else to apply to a job on your behalf? Like, how do both of these questions get answered for you?
That's a really good question. And I've run into some challenges with this type of question in different areas. That was not too bad. And my core answer to this question is almost always you need to figure out how to do it yourself first to then write a foolproof step-by-step list of instructions on how a 5th grader could do the thing.
Yeah.
And then give that to the person to do it. And if you can do that, and if you know a 5th grader could follow this set of instructions, it will get executed well. We use a lot of Philippines virtual assistants in our business. And initially when I was doing my job search, that type of person was supposing me. A lot of people will have bad experiences with VAs for a few reasons. One, you can hire someone who just has really poor cognitive English, meaning that they're not very good at communicating or understanding what you're even saying.
Right.
If you can get past that, the second thing is it's usually on you for not providing good instructions. Like you need to realize their capability level. You're paying only a few dollars an hour for this person. So they really need the like painfully drawn out explanation of things.
Right.
So if you can take the time and effort to make it foolproof and also just train them and treat them like a human being and educate them, you can get really good results. But I will say it is, you get into uncharted, more challenging territory when you're trying to delegate something or get an outcome done that you're not an expert in.
Yes.
And I think so far in my entrepreneurial journey, it's come down to being able to hire people and paying them what they're worth to solve that problem for you, plain and if it's needed.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's also like, how do you even identify the person to own that thing if it's challenging to vet them? Like for me, of all the areas of sales, I'm sufficient at sales, but it's not my core zone of genius. So I've made all the mistakes building and scaling our company of hiring the wrong salespeople, sales leaders, etc. Thank God we've gotten ourselves to a good place to have the right people. But yeah, made every mistake in the book because it's not something I'm an expert in.
Right. And so it's like, then you're relying on someone else. And I love this quote. This is a quote I heard at high school when I was a nerd, that a problem well defined is a problem half solved. And so it's the first step of it is, can you actually do the thing and get the results? So you're like, okay, let me actually put in the inputs. Let me make sure that I'm at least competent. And then let me document the crap out of that process so that someone else can do it. I'm curious on your thoughts of like hiring geniuses or people that are just way better than you. And how you go about, as you mentioned, it's been an issue for you hiring the right salespeople because of this. But especially when you're delegating out work that you're already doing, it's number one, can you do the thing? Number two, documentation of the whole process, which is really like, it's even like the Gary Vee thing, right? It's like, just document what you're doing, every single step. And suddenly you can start to see the whole process and you can see where the gaps are. So when you hire someone, you can go through the checklist with them and say, well, where did we drop the ball?
Exactly.
Instead of just saying, oh, you didn't get the result, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's, well, specifically what step did we miss or do incorrectly?
Yeah.
So it works really good for management, delegation management, even automation, like with ChatGPT, comes down to the prompt, right? It comes down to the documentation and what you're assigning them, your leadership, essentially. When it comes to hiring a genius, let's say you're hiring a software developer, you have no idea how to code, or you're hiring a sales guy, but historically you're not a great salesperson, or you're hiring an accountant, but you're not great with numbers. How are you making those decisions?
Yeah.
This comes down to the trust thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And every situation will be different. I feel like what served me well is trying my best to really mitigate the downside and align in a way that even if things turn out poorly, like it's kind of on them to make it turn out the way they want it to. This won't work all the time depending on your type of business. So giving an example in sales, rather than saying, hey, and when I was evaluating who's going to come in and lead sales for our organization, I talked to many, many people, and a lot of these sales agencies are charging like really heavy upfront fees of like $20K to come in and build out services and build your team out
With no guarantees.
Yeah. And it's just like, okay, you're getting compensated for me to you're getting compensated to come in and build these things as fast as possible. And if it doesn't work out, you don't really care because now you can go charge someone else $20K. And that I've been burned on that. And I was clear that's not going to happen. So, in high ticket sales, you can bring in a sales leader at a percentage of revenue generated, which is what I ultimately did. And I give them a very healthy percentage, more than the average.
Right.
But I was willing to pay for expertise. I was willing to overpay for expertise, especially for someone I trust. But that person is going to be compensated based on what they generate. So I love to try to find things like that. If you're going to build a piece of software, you may not be able to get by of saying, hey, just equity. Like that's tough. It's tough to have someone pour in hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
But when you're evaluating a person to bring in for software, maybe it's a split of ownership or a percentage of revenue on this thing and also a bit of upfront fee.
Yeah. So it might look more like a job stack, right? Where it's the resume. And so it's like, what projects have they built out? How much have they been made from other companies?
Yeah, exactly. There's also like vetting a candidate like you would if you're hiring them, of going through the interview process. ChatGPT is fantastic for this type of thing as well, of like what questions to ask. You can literally write out to ChatGPT, I don't know that much about this thing. I'm interviewing this person. How should I handle my interview process? And I'm sure you get really interesting creator results on that.
Yeah. Here's the project we're working on. Here's who we're hiring. What questions to ask to make sure that they're actually collected.
Yeah. But it's tough because someone could BS you and then you don't really know, right?
Yeah.
So
100%. I think that's where it's to your approach. It's like either tie them to the boat, right? So it's either they now have equity in a company, so they're liable if it goes down. They have an incentivization, so the revenue share, or there's a percentage of the cash flow that they get. So this is like especially good for like real estate agents or salespeople, where there's a transaction that they're responsible for. Or if it's anything like a project thing, like accounting or software, it's like, well, what's your credibility level? Like, how do I know that you're the person I need to hire? Because otherwise you're just banking off. Yeah, no, 100%. It's more like a job process. That's very interesting and exciting. I really want to go back to, I asked you originally, February, you launched this program, $10,000, you hit 50K away, which is, yes, it is the price, right? So it's like 50,000. And this is the thing, right? It's like you charge $10,000. That's only 5 sales versus if you want to hit 50K a month with your $300 program, that's a lot more sales. Yeah. What is that, like 1,500 sales or something? It's a few too many. I am super curious. The 5 sales per month that you're generating right out the gate, how did you find those people? This is more, a lot of my audience is entrepreneurs, people building personal, high ticket services.
Yeah.
How did you get those 5?
I think what's really exciting is that I had 3,000 followers on Instagram at the time. It was super hodgepodge Instagram, and 2024 was the year things finally clicked. The first one was a person in my network, but I would say in the first 5, the other 4 were people through social media or paid ads. So I stumbled into an approach that I think is foolproof for pretty much anyone, which is put out a bunch of just not horrible quality content, but consistent of the same format. The problem I was doing before was I was like documenting my life and all these things. And it was like,
hey, my life. And then here's how-tos.
Yeah. And then there's just like 50 talking head videos of me talking about job stacking. So when people land on and I got this advice from my friend who has a huge Instagram page. It's like, make every video almost the exact same on your page so people understand what you do, and then use your story for talking about your personality and like unique stuff. And I was like, cool, let me start doing that. That helped a lot. And then super simple strategy we're still doing today of literally boosted posts. Not even like fancy. We do have fancy odds, but easily enough, boosted posts outperform everything else we do. I don't know if it's Instagram's way of wanting to just drive more use of their like self-service platform, but it's like a super simple, here's my experience. Anyone who goes to my Instagram could see.
Are these boosted posts like follow me posts or DM posts?
I do a combination of both. We did follow at the beginning.
Okay.
And then I think we got caught in a weird like bot algorithm where you're getting followers, but no one was converting to book calls. So we just stopped for a while. And
I've actually seen that a lot recently. Like the follower ads are way less effective.
Yeah. I just returned them on. So I was like, hey, we'll see.
Yeah. Let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
But traditionally DM ads, like carousel of, I got this outcome. I made X this year job stacking, couple like slides on 5 ways, and then DM.
Yeah.
So that works really well. We book like $30 calls.
That's huge.
We all
those listening, $30 cost per call on a high ticket offer.
Yeah.
If you didn't already know, that's nice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Those are good.
Yeah. So that's cool. Let's see what else.
I have a couple questions. So right away, like something that I've seen in terms of success or failure out the gate when it comes to if you're selling high ticket on social media, success or failure. Number 1, do you have a personal brand? Like, do you have content on a page talking about the thing and it's patterning, like it's consistent content to your brands, like patterning of, hey, this is the thing I'm talking about, not here's 30 different things I talk about and all these different things. Here's the one thing we're talking about and that's it.
Yes.
And then it's okay. Let me just see this one thing. And if you want to post lifestyle and other stuff, that's totally fine, but you need to be consistent on this one thing. Yeah. So success we've seen with high ticket on social media is consistent, whether you're running paid ads or you're organic. You need to have that brand that people can see and go, okay, this guy's legit. We're talking about social proof. Second thing is you're at a very clear problem you're solving or conversation out. And this is like going back to the content, you need to know what to talk about. So what's the problem? What are the pain points? What's the outcome? And then from that, you have something that's marketable, which is here's the problem we solve. Here's, if you have these pain points, really you have this problem. Here's the solution of the problem. Here's the outcome from that problem packaged. Then you can present it as content. And then whether you're running paid ads or cold, but that's been the thing that I've seen be the differentiator between success and failure on social media and running high ticket info on social media is what you're selling isn't freaking clear. Like people don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So you're not consistent on a topic, a message, a problem you're solving, an outcome you're creating. It's like, let's just be consistent with that, whether it's paid ads or whether it's organic social. Ideally both though. I'm a hybrid growth guy.
Yeah.
The other thing, okay, so you're running boosted posts, you're doing DMs, you're running to calls. So it's DMs to sales calls to obviously sales. What did that look like for your first 5, 10, 15, 20 different clients in the door? How did you deal with your delivery, right? Because a lot of people, they'll sell a $10,000 outcome or solution. They'll say, hey, you have this problem. We'll help you get this result. Let's say it's your exact offer. You have a job. You want to get a second 6-figure job. We'll help you get there. A lot of the time what I've seen is the entrepreneurs that are able to sell it, they sell the $10,000 thing, and then they trap themselves in doing it for them. And now they can't scale. Now they can't take on 10 new clients. So what did fulfillment look like for those first 15, 20 people?
Yeah, I'm very proud of how it's progressed, but specifically at the beginning, it was small enough that I was involved in pretty much everything. At the very beginning, I was taking the sales calls, but pretty quickly I was like, I can't even handle the volume we're getting. Hired 2 random people to take sales calls for me. So fortunately, had that handled.
Huge.
Suboptimal in terms of how we're structured and whatnot, but we got it done. Fulfillment, it was really me. So the benefit is because I planned this as just a course. Our course content was epic. So I still believe to this day, if someone were to just use the course content, they would get the outcome
If they followed through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They do all the things,
Yeah.
which is the hard part.
It's always the hard part.
Yeah. So, but yeah, structure is course. At the time, it was just course and 2 calls a week led by me to support with implementation or support with just where you're at the process. Once you get to a point that all your deliverables are done, like your resume, LinkedIn, etc., it's so cool. Shout out to Rosette. Rosette is the woman I hired from the Philippines initially at $4 per hour to apply to jobs for me and help me do my remote jobs. Today she's the COO of our company.
She's the highest paid Filipino.
Yeah, she's crushing it now. She's oversees like 20 people, but at the time, I'm pretty sure she was just running. Now she oversees a team of people who all apply to clients. Well, at the time, she was just running the job search for the clients.
Right.
Probably for the first 10, maybe 20, and then we got more people to help support with that process.
Shout out Rosette.
Yeah, Rosette kills it. It's funny. Someone was auditing my business, and it was my like financial document. They're like, "Who the fuck is Rosette?" It was like it's a marketing operations, like normal words, and then just Rosette. It's awesome. It's Rosette. She's a home, but
that's great. So you, at this point in the company, you have a VA Rosette outbounding to apply for jobs, and then you hire some random dudes to do your sales calls. But then the delivery itself, you filmed all the content. So you mapped out what is exactly needed for someone to get results. You create all that content, and then you're actually the one coaching and holding their hand.
Yeah,
through that process.
Yeah, as we matured, it's got even more foolproof in a sense, as long as you show up and respond to emails and stuff. But we poached some epic career coaches away from some competitors.
Okay.
And now you get assigned a career coach who like holds your hand through the whole process. So I still hold weekly calls, but almost no one shows up because they're getting support other ways you did. So then it was like, no one wants to come talk to me, which, is what it is. Part of the personal zone. But
yeah. Have you seen that your delivery across the board? Has it always been one-on-one or group, or what's been that?
I've always thought from like, how do we scale the impact efficiently and effectively? So initially I was like, this will be group format that will scale basically infinitely. It was fine, but I felt like everyone would benefit. Like results are the most important thing. Like you want to scale, just make results as fast as possible for people. And it's like, just get them the outcomes. So,
which usually doesn't happen in a large group.
Exactly. Yeah.
Group is more scalable with you, but
exactly. So it was just clear. It's like, okay, it's going to be more expensive for us to hire like legit people and like pay these legit adult salaries that they need to survive on,
which is it's the way to win.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like I'd much rather have a way smaller piece of the pie and like allow us to impact more people.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm curious. We'll kind of wrap up and just in terms of like vision, I'm really curious long term. Where do you want this company to go? Where do you see this company going in 5-10 years?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been getting more and more clear on this. I want to build future business leaders, meaning how do we help people thrive, not just survive, but thrive in the future of work? So sure, job stacking, potentially job stacking is viable for 20, 30 years. Who knows? Keep supporting people in that way.
Right.
But I want to be and we will be the defining voice on how to thrive in this ever-changing economy and job market. So it's how do you stay marketable? How do you upskill and learn new technologies? If you've been a truck driver for 10 years, how do we support you to figure out what are the viable paths that can help you have the life balance and life you want for yourself? And actually make a paycheck. So like you mentioned, there's 2 things you can sell. You can sell the education or the outcome. I want to be selling both independently, which is, hey, come one, come all. We're going to show you how to do resumes, how to do LinkedIn's.
They're almost 2 different things, right? It's like you have the product, which is, hey, we'll get you a job, which is the automations, the outreach, the resume building, whatever. But then you have the service, which is your college, right? It's hey, this is where you'll actually learn how to.
Exactly. Like partner with experts in software development, in product management, and co-create extra course modules and even courses, full-on courses that will provide you the skill set. Because the thing is, the dude I mentioned earlier who got burned by the coding boot camp, he wants to work with us to first get a sales job, then parlay that into a software job.
Okay.
I was like, the problem is, sure, you learn the skills, but you haven't showcased your real experience. And that's what we really focus on, is how do we manufacture real experience? Like, how do we go from you've done nothing professionally to how to create a resume that showcases not just, oh, I did this like I built like a fake taco website, taco truck website.
But you actually create a real website for a real company.
Yeah. And
I'm curious. Okay, so for anybody listening, let's say I wanted to learn a new skill, whether it was product management, software, sales, copywriting. I just want to learn a new skill. How do you manufacture that type of experience?
Yeah, that's great. So obviously it depends. If it were sales, like that's a bit different to me, where it's like you got to just go get your foot in the door and sell something.
Yeah.
If it's, let's say it's software, it's such a small distinction because on technically all those portfolio projects you did, that's good enough, but it's the context. And a hiring manager, when they're looking at 500 resumes, they're thinking, why should I, like, okay, he did it, but it wasn't for like a real company in a real work environment. So that like kind of sketches me out, and I'll just hire the person who's been a software developer for 5 years.
Right.
So basically you're doing a lot of that same stuff, but it's the framing. So like really what we'll do is have people, you don't even need to actually have someone pay you for the thing, but you could literally pick a company, let's say, Nike is a bad example, Airtable, like a tech company, right?
Yeah.
It's databases.
Yeah.
Smaller company, like more accessible.
But Airtable, for those who know, it's a great company.
Yeah, exactly. Great company. You could basically redesign, like if I was a software developer, I could design a new website or a new mobile view, or even like, I mean, I wouldn't recreate their whole app because that's kind of a lot of work, but create something that would be actually valuable for their company. And at that point in time, okay, you've done the thing. How do you take it a step further and make it real? Reach out to just a shitload of people on LinkedIn that work at Airtable and be like, hey, I made this thing. I think it's really valuable for you guys. I'd love to show it to one of you guys. And if you can actually get your friend there and actually even just have like a 30-minute conversation, it's going to be hard for them to say no. Like, I don't want to see your thing if it's actually valuable.
Especially if you've already built it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what you can actually do, which is a hack I'm going to teach this in a program, is how to automate LinkedIn outreach, saying that you built the thing. And then when they reply saying down to chat, then you build the thing retroactively, which in this scenario,
it can be good. Yeah. I have a really good example of this. But I am curious about a larger scale of like how you manufacture skill sets or experience. And we'll talk more about it. But actually on the other side of this wall, one of my roommates is a software developer. And originally he goes to school for software development, gets a degree from a college. He has this degree in software development. And then he gets a job at Amazon working in a warehouse doing some kind of software stuff for them. I think he was managing inventory. So he's essentially sitting behind a computer, software developer, but he's really just moving numbers from one screen to the other screen. And he realizes, wait a second, this is costing X amount of time and this is really manual. And there's opportunity for human error. What if I make a software that can just solve this one problem? He ends up making the software. It pisses his managers off because his managers don't want to become obsolete because it essentially removes their job. So he creates the software and then he screams at the higher ups of Amazon to implement the software, ends up saving Amazon like $30 million a year in warehouse management costs.
Wow.
And then he just goes and freelances on Upwork and he can say, hey, look at this thing that I did. So it's like he almost went like, let me just get a job that puts me in the environment where I can find a problem to solve that problem, actually be able to show that, hey, this created whatever result. And then you can go and you can show that other places.
That's a great way to do it too. Like foot in the door wherever you can.
Yes, right. It's like if you want to learn sales, it's like, okay, find a company that sells something that's expensive. Go work as a freaking desk manager there or whatever you can get in as a janitor there, and then figure out a way to start doing deals for them. And then you can say, hey, I spun up this new operation for this company and I actually generated an X amount. I can run a revenue.
Yeah, 100%.
Is there any other ways that you like, how would you advise, let's say I want to learn the skill of like copywriting. How would I go about that? Learn your skill.
Totally. I think it's two things because they're both equally important. There's learning the skill and there's communicating it to a degree that someone would actually be down to even interview you based on that. Because like the skill itself, not communicated well on a resume. It's like, I did this course on copywriting. No, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my God, the amount of people that reach out. Hey, I did this sales training.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, exactly. So it's both. Like the skill is the skill. Like learn that through a paid course on YouTube or whatever. Like get really proficient in it. Probably pay someone legitimate to really train you on it and get a lot of live training. But yeah, when it comes to actually showcasing you can do it, I think a really thorough way is the way you just mentioned, which is actually like use whatever foothold you have now to do real world projects. Even taking what I was mentioning a step further, it's like, it's still a theoretical project, but now it's transitioned to the real world because you actually did it for them. Yes. And this is like, may seem dicey to some people, but the job market is just so cutthroat now that even if you don't get in front of them, even have the conversation, tomato, tomato, like on your resume, you can treat it as such,
Okay, so you could say like, "Hey, I built this new dashboard for Airtable."
Yeah, that projected. And again, it's one of those things that's like everyone is just inflating and telling a story on your resume. And if you don't have an insanely compelling resume, you're not going to get interviewed.
Yeah.
So the way I root this in like what feels ethically okay to me is that you have to know you can actually do the job and do the job really, really well. Like if they hire you, you'll actually thrive in that role. If that is true, do what it takes to get your foot in the door for a conversation. Because it's just unfortunately at that point where like,
Okay.
resumes are just like insane these days. So you have to have an insane resume to even be looked at.
Yeah, to even have a conversation.
So it's like, cool, I did the software that, and you don't need to like objectively lie that you actually saved them $1 million, but you could say projected annual cost savings $1 million, right? And then in the interview, you talk through the nuances of that, and put.
Yeah, it was projected. It wasn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Squiggly line projected. Yeah. So I think that's a really good way to do it. But figuring out how to.
I think a lot of people would look at that as lying, though.
Yeah, that's valid. And it is. Like, objectively, it is. And I would be lying if I didn't encourage people to tell. It's all semantics, right? But I genuinely will, like, I prefer not to.
Yeah.
I prefer it not to happen, but also I really care about getting my clients' results. And if I know, if they don't have the skills, this is a non-starter for me. Like, I would never allow this to happen. But if you have done product management, you know how to do it well, it was called something different in your previous company, you want to get a job in product management, I would encourage creative storytelling to get your foot in the door. Because it's very different. The resume, to me, is whatever. Like, you're still going to have to go through 5 rounds of resumes. You're going to have to convince a real human you can actually do the job. So your resume could be amazing, could be full of lies, but if you're out of integrity with the ability to do the job,
that's the actual
you're fucked.
guy.
Yeah, you're actually. So, like, and it's literally that bad in the job market that sometimes, like, I'll refine a resume 3 or 4 times. And I'm like,
it's still.
We have a guy that was on a call today. He built and launched an amazing company, sold it for a ton of money, just chilled for a while, and he's been doing a bunch of like meh work.
Yeah,
and he's not doing well. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm just gonna be so honest with you. Like, this top job on your resume just doesn't come across as impressive. And no matter what we do, until you change it, and you can choose to do this or you could not, but you won't get results until these things look a little different.
Yeah.
And even though the bottom half of his resume is like star-studded insane, literally one job on his resume just
kind of
doesn't have any big numbers, doesn't feel impressive.
Yeah.
And people are just swiping left because there's infinite choice.
Damn.
And it's just a reality look back.
It's interesting that this is kind of the world we live in now, where it's like it's almost more about the illusion of success than actual, like, yeah, I mean, I even look at it of like the kid that, let's say, doesn't actually know how to really do anything, but went to let's say daddy's money, he went to the perfect university, he got the perfect jobs, but in reality, he got the perfect job and then he paid someone else to do the work, where it's like he actually doesn't have any of the things, but it looks really awesome on paper.
Yeah.
Versus the kid that came from nothing, that bootstrapped his way, that learned on YouTube or university, like didn't actually go anywhere, but that has been solving real multi-million-dollar. He was the guy that the college kid was paying to actually do the work. It's like, he's the dude that really deserves the job. He has the expertise. He has the ability to fulfill.
Yeah.
But on paper, nobody cares. It's like, how do you reconcile that? Which is, it's sad, right? It's hard to deal with, right? It's even the same thing in the dating market, right? It's like, what happens if you're ugly, but you know you're a great boyfriend? It's thankful here. What do you do?
Yeah, you have to find it in that scenario too. You have to find a competitive advantage, right?
Yeah.
You can be ugly as fuck and still get fit.
Yeah, or make a ton of money.
Yeah, or make a ton of money, have a good personality. Like, you can find it, and it's kind of the same in the job market, where it's like, you may not have great experience, but if you can get your foot in the door. And what's cool about even this, like, reverse engineering, like, what does my resume need to say? How do I reverse engineer that to actually have people want to talk to me? Even if you're not that good at copywriting as an example, that's a more tactical thing. But even, like, we can just run with that example. Even figuring out how to interview for, like, let's say you got a little bit of experience, you're interviewing for like a legit copywriting job, you're going to have to learn how to interview for that role. So you're going to have to learn all the questions they're going to ask, and you're going to need to learn how to answer those questions 100% specifically. So even if you're not telling stories that are 100% accurate to your situation, you're with confidence virtually explaining how to do the thing. And it's like, if you can explain how to do the thing, you can do the thing.
Yes. It's like step 1, it's like, do you believe you can actually write the emails on web pages for X company?
Yeah. It's
step 2, can you actually answer the questions in the interview? Instead of going, well, actually, I don't know about that. No, it's how do you answer confidently and say, yeah, here's what I would do.
Exactly.
Right. You don't have to say, here's what I've done. It's here's what I would do.
Exactly. Tell me how to answer, or tell me how to capture attention in a hook. Oh, great. Let me tell you. It's like, cool. You can now tell me that. Cool. You can have this job.
Yeah.
Right. So
I do think like the future of the world, like a lot of it is this like psychological perspective. It's positioning, right? And it's like, instead of being a victim to the times that we're in, it's like, how can you get this on your side? And it's how I've almost seen this is like, fundamentally, first, you have to have the character that you believe in yourself enough to show up. You believe that you're adaptable. And it's like, you have the confidence to have that. And so it's like, you almost have to start with these like deeper interpersonal stuff, right? Where it's like, it's like, you might be the best coder in the world, but do you have the confidence to communicate that?
Yeah.
While also being realistic, right? Not being egotistical or narcissistic about it. And so it's like character traits, like, do you know that you're consistent? Do you know that you can solve problems? Do you know that you can you set massive goals and then actually accomplish them? Do you know that you can learn the skills and adapt and problem solve and be in new environments, be thrown, off of the edge of a cliff and learn how to build a parachute on the way down? Like, do you have inherently the trust in yourself? And that comes with evidence, that comes with learned experience, right? You can't just be delusionally confident. And then it's like, okay, now you have those characteristics. Now it doesn't really matter what's on your resume if you can validate, hey, I know how to approach this problem and solve it correctly.
Exactly. And it's like that was super true in my life when I was trying to figure out the stacking thing. It was like going from the 80K to the 160. That was super scary. I didn't believe it at first. It was like, that's a double jump. Like, you usually only get an extra couple percent per year, right? But it was that like
85.
I remember writing it down. I was like, I'm just going to continue to reaffirm to myself that I can burn this, and I'll figure out how to do it, right? And it's that for everybody of just, if you can believe.
Did you write affirmations to 160K a year?
More, I mean, I actually found a piece of paper. Yeah, my goal was 3 jobs, 500K total.
Yeah,
and then when I mapped that out, it was like, I for sure had affirmations of like, I have a senior product manager earning 160K per year, because I didn't believe it. I had to like drill it into my brain that it was possible for me.
Yeah, 100%. I even look at it like, how can I tangentially build confidence in this thing? And so it's like, okay, let's say I wanted to, be a product manager at a company. Well, okay, what are the kind of like base personality traits that I need in order to do that? Oh, I need to be able to lead a team. I need to be able to plan for a project or handle the logistics and timing of something. So how can I do other things that build my belief in that? And so can I organize a 10-person group trip 3 months from now to a different country?
Yeah.
And I'll manage the budget and the timeline and the activities that we're doing in the schedule. And now suddenly, even though this is just me and the boys going to Europe to drink beers, I'm building confidence in myself that I can organize 10 idiots that are all doing different things and running in different directions. Can I tie 10 idiots together and get them to do something on time, on budget, on pace, on expectation, and get to the other end of the Europe trip and everybody's happy?
Yeah.
And now it's like, it's totally tangential, right? I can't put boys trip to Europe on my resume, but internally I just built confidence in myself that the product management job that requires leadership, deadline, budgeting, a schedule of itinerary of different things, I now can look at that and go, okay, I have belief in myself that I can run that.
100%. I would push that even one step further. And if you're in that place in life right now, figure out how to do both. Figure out how to do something that's tangential that you can also put on your resume. So like, we had a client who wants to be a product manager, is like a little iffy, not technical. I was like, go find a developer, build a mobile app. And he did that. So it's like, cool, you did all those things. Like, you got to be a product manager by building your own piece of software. And you got to do it without anyone giving you permission to do it.
Yes, and now you can actually put that.
And you can talk about it in an interview.
Yeah, 100%. It's not just the boys trip.
Exactly.
That's
adding to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the smart way to do. Is like, okay, what area? So it's like even the copywriting thing, right? So it's like, oh, you want to get good at copywriting? Okay, start writing letters to strangers and leaving them in public. Or what's the step above that? So that's like, oh, I'm just learning the skill is I'm writing letters to strangers and leaving them in public. The step above that is I'm writing posts on social media about a certain thing that's important to me, and I'm just practicing writing. And if I can make that go viral on Twitter consistently, well, clearly my writing is working, and now I can go to this company and I can say, hey, I reached 150 million people on Twitter and made 80,000 followers on Twitter because of my posts, which are because of my writing. You can't tell me my writing's bad because I just did it.
Because we're social proof now.
Yeah,
he'll trust you.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like, okay, I like that. I think that's the good approach. It's funny how it's like, okay, let's just reverse engineer and get back to it.
Exactly.
I'm curious what kind of identities you have in yourself that have enabled you to do all this. So what's interesting is you mentioned that you wanted to be an entrepreneur before, and you're like trying these different things like the health coaching and these different opportunities, and then you go back to a job. what are some core characteristic traits that you believe you have that have helped you go through this process and survive and thrive?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like I've always been scrappy. I got like a 17 on my first ACT. Where's it so hard?
Go.
Yeah.
I don't even know what the scores are, but
Yeah, it's not good. It's out of 36, so that's like barely half or not even half. And not even half. Scraped my teeth to get into like a good college. Didn't even get accepted in the business school. I had to like fight to get into the business school after my first semester. And I've always just gotten by just like throwing my head against the wall 1,000 times and breaking through. Like even when I had a really good job out of college, but no one helped me. Like I didn't get it to a connection or an intro or whatever. Even back then, was probably a horrible suboptimal approach. I just applied to an insane amount of jobs, and I happened to get like, a really good offer as a numbers game thing.
Yeah.
So I've always had a feeling of if I break everything down into like how many outputs do I need to likely get the thing, and just can I do as many outputs as possible. So I think that's one of them. That's probably the biggest one. So like no matter what I'm facing, if I can just break it down into chunks and just stop getting scared, focus on execution, and eventually you'll get there.
I think that like actually almost everything in life can be broken down into like, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to get a 6-pack in 6 weeks. I'm smart enough to know that if I work out every day and I eat in a caloric deficit with more protein than fats or anything else, carbohydrates, in 6 years, I can have a 6-pack. And so it's like, okay, same thing with the job. It's like, I'm not smart enough to know that I'm going to get the first job I apply for, but I know if I have 1,000 at bats, sooner or later, I'm going to get 1,000 at bats with these conditions, right? These criteria. It doesn't have to be efficient or it doesn't have to be optimized. It just has to be something that I can do.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game. I just heard 2 things in there that are really key. You have a willingness to be told no. So it's okay. I can go walk into 100 different doors. All of them tell me no to the job. And then the 101st says yes. So perseverance in the face of rejection. The second thing I heard was even though the environment around you is telling you you're not good enough, 17 ACT, you get to the college, but not the business school, you fight to get into business, and then you go apply for jobs and they don't say yes at first. So with an ability or willingness to get told no, so willingness to perseverance. The second thing is you had a high degree of ambition. So even though the world is telling you, no, you're smart enough to just graduate high school, but you're not going to be a world-class whatever, you're like, screw that. I'm going to go take the ACT again. I'm going to do what's required to excel or set really big goals. Both of those characteristics are really, really, really interesting to me. The next thing I'm curious about in terms of this whole thing is these 2 skills, perseverance and ambition. Those I don't think just work in a vacuum by themselves. The third thing that you have is consistency, right? So you actually showed up, you did the behaviors day to day. That consistency that you have, how do you maintain that? How do you keep the consistency?
Yeah, great question. I was actually thinking about that as you were talking. I was like, oh, there's one thing that I didn't mention. And there's been this big pendulum switch where I live until 24. I lived my life so unconsciously, like drinking, partying, addicted to a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Since then, I think I've just become very conscious of, and it's all those things. I think there's at a point in time, common theme of this conversation is like vision. And at a certain point in my time, probably around 24, 25, getting super like crazy crystal clear on who I want to be, that all my patterns were so clear on whether it was like intense emotional feeling of satisfaction or pain of if the thing I was doing was supporting that vision or not.
Come on.
And ultimately it's just like, no one can convince me to do anything. I can be the most stubborn person. I will not do anything that is not aligned with who I want to be. And if I don't internally feel that this activity is allowing that, there's, sometimes it's good to be selfless and help other people, obviously. But yeah, like saying no to almost everything is probably the biggest thing. And I think that makes consistency so easy compared to your example of how do you get a 6-pack? It's like, cool, like let me look at my lifestyle, my habits. You should not go hang out with your friends, but it's like, cool, can I just like bring food to this thing if I'm taking it that seriously? Or like,
it's like, let me say go to Live Actress or to the Foods ad. Yes. Yeah. I can hang out with my friends at the bar if I say no to the brew. If I can't say no to the beer at the bar with my friends, then I have to say no to the point.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've just brainwashed myself so aggressively now that like, I love to have lifestyle balance. I love to see my friends. I love to have quality time with my girlfriend. And I also just love to work, and I love routine. Like I'm at the gym every day. I'm going to yoga. I'm meditating, but I've just like consciously connected the dots about how those things that other people would consider work align with me being who I want to be. So that makes it really easy to just do it consistently. And for a while, it was not easy. So I don't think anyone who's struggling to be consistent should feel bad or feel put down. It's like just those two things, perseverance and whatever the other thing you said. Just keep getting after it.
Yeah, ambition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm trying. Like, you can fail. Like, there's a bit component that's self-love to this too, which is just like,
yes,
have goals for yourself, but don't just like shit on yourself when you're not meeting that, because that will only hold you down more. It's like acknowledge, learn from it, iterate again.
Yeah,
like
the forgiveness is so essential.
Yeah.
There's it's so funny, right? Because it's like, have goals, but goals by themselves do not make you successful. So you have to know that you're doing the right things in order to accomplish your goals. So ambition, consistency. If you do the things that you believe are necessary to have the thing you want, you still don't get it, you have to have perseverance, right? It's like, if you know that if I apply to the job, sooner or later I get the job, but you're not getting the job, well, it's like, can you keep going? Are you willing to persevere? So it's like, these kind of characteristics are interwoven. I love what you just said about the vision. And then you mentioned a word that I love, but I don't think a lot of people understand: consciousness or unconsciousness, right? And it's like, when you said I was living my life unconsciously up until 24, you likely already had these traits of being relatively ambitious and relatively perseverance, or having a degree of perseverance where you're gritty, right? Scrappy, as you say, where in high school, when you get this level of the test, you're unhappy because you want a better college, which means a better test score. So you go back and you hit it again. So you already have these characteristics. Unconscious versus conscious, what I notice is it's whether or not you're aware that the behaviors that you're doing are actually leading to the thing you want or not, right? So like, consciousness, enlightenment is just, do you understand the thoughts you have, the feelings you have, the actions you're taking? Are those things actually lining up with what you want or not? And it's okay. It's like, you don't have to hate yourself for eating chocolate. Like, chocolate is not inherently evil, or Netflix is not inherently evil. It's just whether or not these things are aligning with what you really actually say that you want. And are you willing to say no to those things to actually have this?
Or foolish. So yeah, and it's balance, right? Like, you could be like, yeah, I really care about my 6-pack, and also I don't want to be a psychopath. So like, Saturday I can have a little chocolate and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's the Buddhist belief that the root of all suffering is desire, right? And so it's like, the Buddhists, they're saying like, hey, if you want the 6-pack, you're going to be miserable because what you want right now is the chocolate, and you can't have the chocolate. I think there's also a degree of like the Socrates quote, through self-discipline is freedom. And so there's a level of like, self-regulation is required. So it's like, how can you balance? It's like, how do I maintain a degree of sanity? Like, I don't want to wake up and want to put a gun in my mouth. So if I don't want to be miserable all the time, well, I need to have some freedom in terms of eating the chocolate or going out with friends or doing things other than working. So I need to have some freedom. And also, self-discipline is required for me to get what I really want. So how do you
balancing all the human needs at the same time?
Yeah. Do you think there's a formula for that, or do you think that's a personal?
I think it's got to be a pretty intuitive thing, right? Because it's like, I mean, Tony Robbins has that, whatever it is, like 6 human needs circle, but we have, right? It's your relationships, it's your health, it's your mental well-being, fun, new experience, whatever all the things are that you care about. And I think it's just like, how can you keep those? Obviously, not everything will always be full in your life, but like, the average person will be optimally happy when those things are pretty well balanced and there's not one aspect that is driving. Like, even what you just pointed out of the chocolate thing, again, like, situationally, it might be different, right? It's like, okay, I want to lose weight, so I feel really good on my upcoming trip. Cool. Now I'm going to like overemphasize. I actually feel better by being more restrictive. Okay, I just did this like big bodybuilding competition. I just want to like chill for a couple of months. So I think it's, for everyone, it's got to be intuitive, but I think it just starts with checking it. Like, how do I feel across the board right now? And where do I feel low? And what would help me like move that needle up a little bit? And it could be more restriction, or could be more chill.
Yeah. It's almost like, how I'm seeing it is like, if you had a chart, let's say fitness is a great example, where it's like a 0 out of 10, right? So it's like, let's say a scale 0 to 10. 0 is I eat whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'm only as active as I feel impulsive in the moment. I have no degree of self-regulation or control. 10 being, I know every single calorie, but not only calories, but macros. So I know how many grams of proteins, carbs, fats. I have a set routine, like a routine of stretching, exercise, like cardio hit, high intensity, like heavy weights. Like, I'm tracking everything, every single little thing. So it's like, okay, out of 10, where are you now? And then it's like, okay, what is your goal? Out of 10, where do you need to be in order to hit that goal? And then it's just closing that gap. So it's like, could you self-regulate? It's like, okay, all the areas of my life, because my life is not a silo. It's, to your point, it's the Tony Robbins thing. It's like, okay, my relationships, my relationship with God, my finances, my fitness. And then it's like, understanding, okay, maybe I only have, let's say there's 5 different categories, and you can be 0 to 10 in all 5 categories, which means if you're 10 out of 10 in everything, you really can hit 50, right? But let's say your capacity right now is only 25. So it's like, okay, if you want something to be a 10 out of 10, are you ready for every other area of your life to drop?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to do 10 out of 10 in everything right away.
Yeah.
So
the goal is just expanding that capacity.
Yes.
With systems.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. It's habitual. It's like, this is actually, I love that you just said it's like the goal is expand the capacity on everything. Cause it's like maybe the average person right now is a 3 out of 10 in everything in their life. And if there's 5 categories, that means your total capacity is 15.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, if you need to just get your finances right and not have a social life or relationship with God or anything else, and you're okay, like not being healthy physically, you just need to get your money right, go 0 out of 10 on everything except for finances. And that's okay. And a lot of people do that. But the real goal is be a 10 out of 10 on everything.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about this, of like the concept of homeostasis or baseline. So it's like, okay, well, what necessarily, how do you expand your capacity? How do you get a 10 out of 10 in everything? You create a new identity. You create a new homeostasis. You create a new normal. And so you're just, okay, well, 5 out of 10 on everything is actually the new homeostasis. What are some experiences or things that you do to actually expand your capacity?
I love this question. So I think the way I look at this, it's like resources and inputs that go into the machine that create the capacity. So the last offer I ran for myself that I still is like the thing I would nerd out on the most, but I was like, I'll come back to this. I will. It was human optimization, like flow state, neurocognitive performance coaching was my thing. I was like a super biohack, personal development nerd in that regard.
Yeah, you're a blue light blocker.
Yeah. And then I was like, and then there were other reasons why this business wasn't working at the time. I was like, all right, I'll just go make $1 million. I'll make like $10 million and come back. And then you guys will believe that I'm high performance. And then I'll crush it at this.
Yeah. And then in the pursuit of the $10 million, you actually lose all of the human optimization patterns.
It's like that 2 and 3.
Yes.
No, but I think it's 2 things that create more capacity. Well, potentially 3, but 2 main drivers. One, I think it is human energy. So I actually think there's in some regards what you mentioned can work, maybe a little more nuanced okay. And of the 2, the second is money. So I totally align with you there. Like you may need to just go all in on finances to expand your capacity elsewhere. The caveat being your ability to have energy as a human. Like if you can if you could be how many hours a day, and I push this to the total limits in my own like curiosity for myself of how many productive dialed hours per day can I have? That expands your capacity too. And how do you get that? So many things, right? Fitness, health, sleep, all the things.
For sure. That's what I'm working on.
Yeah. All the things that the health nerds will hype you up about all day long. I think that's really important. And for me, that always took more precedence over the income for me. Because it's like, I was like, if I feel good, I will create better.
Yeah.
And I used to have like my hormones were all messed up, like other like past trauma things. Like I had horrible up and downs of energy. And it was like, but it's kind of hard to optimize those things if you don't have money or free time. So it can be a vicious cycle.
And there are other things that impact, like how many hours of focused things can I have? It's like, well, if you're totally lonely and you have no healthy, intimate life or social relationships, you're not going to be productive because actually in the back of your mind all day, you're going, I have no friends, or I just want to get laid. And it's like, you're not actually focused.
For sure. And I think that can go both ways. I think that can be true, but I think even to what you were sharing, like I'm intentionally single right now and you're exploring it all in. So yeah, those thoughts can be there, but even though it's unhealthy, there are also people who are like, that's true, but I'm going to block it out. And I'm going to obsess over this thing and probably in a pretty unhealthy way.
I think it's like extremism on either end, right? So same thing with fitness. It's like if your fitness is I have to be anal about, my circadian rhythm, what time I wake up, blue light glasses, what kind of food, seed oils, no seed oils, how much I work out, exactly what weights I'm lifting. I think that can also limit productivity in the gym or productivity in work as much as no sleep regulation with fitness.
What we're doing, and I've been there too. Like I have been like an over mover in that regard of like, then I'm burnt out because I went out too hard. I'm resting.
I think it's like almost like it's categorically, it's okay. If my North Star right now in my life is I want to make $10 million. We'll just use that as the example. You have to understand, okay, right now my primary constraint is I'm just not doing the type of work that makes me 10 million. So let me solve that. Okay, now I'm doing the type of work that makes me 10 million, but my sleep is shit. So therefore I'm not focused. Therefore I can't actually get this done. Yeah, let me fix that. Okay, well now I'm sleeping well and I'm focused on the thing that's going to make me 10 million, but I had no relationships in my life, and all day long I'm actually scrolling on social media.
I don't have the people that reflect back to me as the type of person I want to be.
Yes. Yeah. People around me are a bunch of broke losers or nobody at all. Actually, let me go surround myself with inspirational people like yourself. It's like, okay, let me hang out with you. Great. This is actually leveling me up just as a byproduct. Right. I think there's definitely hood. It's instead of over optimizing of like, here's every little tiny thing I'm going to do in my fitness. It's like, okay, I just know that I need to be exercising, sleeping, and dieting effectively every day. Okay, now I can go back to my primary.
Yeah. It's like, what's the 80-20?
Yes.
Just like, what's the minimum effective dose of these things that will do me well?
Yeah. Instead of because otherwise you get neurotic, right? So you see people that are like, the one thing that matters more than anything is money, and suddenly they become cheap and ineffective, and nobody wants to be around them, and they're actually fat losers that are just unpleasant people.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, well, what if you optimize for the money, but instead of being neurotic about the 10 million, you focused on having healthy relationships, a good body, all these things, and suddenly your 10 million effortlessly grows.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Frustrating. Silly things, definitely. What a rough life. What have you personally done that is like you've actually objectively seen the expansion of your capacity? Like maybe it was an exercise or an activity, but you're like, oh shit, that really helped.
Yeah, for sure. In our purpose, like I think if I can figure this stuff out, anyone can. This is a little personal, but I'll share it. So growing up, my home environment was pretty tough. So I kind of grew up in this very like, and I didn't really consciously realize it again until I was older, but I had like a very, very wrecked nervous system from that, meaning I was always in like fight or flight, like hyper anxious all the time, which is that the opposite of what you want if you want to be a high performer. Like you want to be grounded, chill, calm, be able to tap into flow state, be able to focus. And like the smallest things, just because my body was like very primed for that, were like really frazzling for me. Like too many meetings, too much being around people, like that would really affect my energy. But it's changed a lot like over the last several years. I would say big things that have helped. Definitely like a very good personally attuned fitness routine. Yeah. Taking care of my health. Like I've gone super deep on this stuff, but even just like baseline of getting an Oura ring, tracking your sleep, figuring out how to get better sleep, having better daily routines.
Or blood and very basics.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I love yoga. That's like really helpful for me to do that. I kind of alternate workout yoga, and that just keeps my body like pretty chill. Kind of the idea that like your mind will follow the body. I think that's so true. So you can hack your, like, I actually don't think you can, maybe some people can. I personally can't hack myself into good thoughts. If I ever feel like a little anxious, it's a body problem. And it's, for me, like my mental state follows how I'm taking care of my body.
That's so key.
Yeah.
One of my friends who's an insane athlete, he always told me, he's like, depression comes to the body before the mind. I'm like, oh, maybe that'll be like actually work out and I'd be happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Continue.
Yeah. So there's some big ones. Fixing my hormones. So working with a doctor to do blood testing and then get on what I needed to get on to fix my hormones helped a lot.
And so you have like the fitness routine, sleep routine, hormones. But you mentioned like this thing of like your nervous system was just in a state of disarray.
Yeah.
Where you have too many meetings. It doesn't matter whether you worked out or not. Your body's in fight or flight. You have elevated cortisol, and now you're crashing and burning, or you're burning out, or you're just not focused or productive.
Yeah.
How did you manage and I'm saying, I think everybody has some degree, like probably the primary issue in society is unregulated nervous system. It's like, cause then you're in fight or flight, and it's always win-lose in fight or flight. There's no such thing as a win-win.
Any abuse, any fighting, any just discharges of anger. It's all that.
Yeah. Degrees of scarcity, whatever it is. How have you helped re-regulate your nervous system?
Yeah. It's probably one of the biggest things I nerd out on. Learning about the nervous system, what it is, how to regulate has been probably one of the most game-changing things in my life. Like I would trade away every bit of success that I have ever had for that knowledge if I had to, because it's foundational to everything. So for me, it goes back to a lot of those things. It's just figuring out what is grounding for me as an individual. Like for me, sauna, cold plunge, stretching, yoga, meditation, awareness in general. Do
you think you need those tools though to have a regular, like those things really help iron out the kinks? But I've started to really look at my life of like ruggedness. So like, can I re-regulate and change the baseline in my body and mind, in my nervous system, can I change that baseline without needing a bunch of fancy, complicated things like sonic cold plunge? Because it's like when I have the routine, it's really easy to regulate.
100%.
But when you're thrown out of that routine, do you just revert back to the addictive behaviors or the abusive behaviors?
Sure. Yeah.
How do you change that baseline?
That's a really good question. That's something I'm actively still working on in my own life for sure, where like I still, when I don't have those tools and I'm a very structured person, it's challenging, but you're totally right. Like that is the North Star. That's something I'm actively like working with a therapist and some people on in my own life is just like, yeah, like, and it can't be done for sure. Have you ever heard of internal family systems?
No.
It's a pretty cool therapy modality where it's essentially just like realizing any pattern that's maladaptive. So it could be like, okay, anytime there's more than a few people in a room or someone yells or whatever, my body goes into like fight or flight state. And you're like, okay, logically that makes no sense. Like grown as a man, like why would my body react that way? Or like anytime my girlfriend asks me to do something, I get really defensive. That type of pattern. Internal family systems help you, like basically helps you identify where that pattern came from. Usually a time in childhood or early in your life, and realizing that it's not a bad thing. It was a survival mechanism. So most of the time we have shame about our patterns. We shove them away and we don't want to look at them. Internal family systems is a really cool way where you like identify it as a part.
Yeah. It's almost you neutralize it.
Yeah.
Out of like being ashamed.
Exactly. You label it and you can talk to it. So it's like, hey, I totally see what you're trying to do here. Like there was a point in time where you were vulnerable and you didn't have the resources you need and you didn't feel safe. So this is how you respond to that situation as a way to protect yourself.
Right.
And you actually don't have to anymore because now you're like totally good. And these situations or environments, like they're not going to determine your safety. So that's a really cool tool you can either use with therapists or even just do on your own, like journaling.
That's
as a way to, but I think to your point, it's awesome that you're doing that because I think that's literally huge. Awareness. How am I feeling? Not making it wrong and trying to numb it out. It's like the numbing it out is what reciprocates the pattern of it. It's like, okay, can I feel through this? And even if it's not like a perfect, okay, now I won't go to my thing, but it's like, can I delay my time I go to the thing?
Yes.
And then you're just like priming your nervous system for more adaptability. And it's like, cool, I got through it. The next time I go through it, you're probably going to 10% less intense of a feeling.
Yeah. It's like, I love that you just said this of like, if let's say you're an alcoholic and the trigger is you feel like attacked or someone else accuses you of something, and that pattern creates a feeling of guilt or shame, which then triggers into I want to drink alcohol. It's like, even if you can just separate the amount of time between I feel guilty or ashamed about this thing and I actually picked up the bottle, it's like if we can just separate that, you're actually a long way on the way of recovery.
And even if it's the first time, it was like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
Or just like before I pick up the bottle, like, can I just be aware of the feeling in my body? Like, what does it feel like?
And not try to make it go away. It's like, wow, I feel really ashamed right now. This sucks. And that's okay. By the way, note, neither of us are therapists. We're not qualified for this conversation. It's not mental health advice. Call a doctor.
Exactly.
But I do, I had this philosophy. This is not accredited. This is me and my subjective opinions. This is personal. But it's like, if I can become aware of something, like an emotional thing. So it's like, can I dump this out on the table? Can I actually elevate the state without trying to solve it? So like, if the core issue is shame, can I actually max that? Like, let me figure out why that is. So then we have the awareness of like, okay, I feel ashamed about this thing. Now let me increase the intensity of shame without doing anything about it. Like, let me actually feel this thing and like notice how it feels in my body. And then can I, like, it's the expanded capacity. It's like, can I increase the extreme of like how much shame I can feel and also how much liberation I can feel. But it's like in the middle, it's like step 1 is awareness. Step 2 is elevated emotion. And then step 2 is like re-regulation or deregulation, like the opposite. Yeah. And that's when, like, for me, like I'm dealing with a lot of my own stuff, but it's like becoming a drug addict at 11 years old and then like a porn addict and all these things, and then kind of trying to fix my way through it. It's like the same thing for the external of like, okay, let me expand my capacity physically by going on an insanely strict diet or going on an insanely strict physical routine, because that inherently will increase my likelihood or my baseline of just working out or eating healthy in general, even if I'm not on the routine. The same thing emotionally or with my nervous system. Let me experience what these super nasty things are that I'm avoiding. Let me figure out why and the awareness underneath. And then it's like, I heard, I think it was the bulletproof coffee guy. I'm forgetting
Dave Asprey.
Dave Asprey said this thing on a podcast where he's like, I like to sprint as hard and fast as I can because it activates fight or flight. And then I like to just lie in the field and breathe. And it's like, it's the two extremes, right? It's like, let me push my nervous system as hard as I can and then literally do nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, through that, I think there's an integration of an expanded overall.
Yeah. And again, to your point, we're not.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's perspective. My personal experience has mapped that very, spot on in that the pain is almost expanded by the avoidance of it. And it's like, cool. Can you just like, as you sit with it and you allow the shame to move through your body, maybe it's really painful for a couple of hours, but you don't numb, you'll sit with it and journal on it. It dissipates over time. And then now it's like dissipated. Like you've actually felt through it, and you might come back, but it might come back like 20% less intense.
Yeah. 100%.
And I have not fixed everything in my life, but I have moved through a lot of really crazy shit. And it's been that. It's been just like, let's go.
Yeah.
Come at me.
100%. And it's okay. It's like if I wanted, I've never done antidepressants, but if I wanted to get off of antidepressants, like I shouldn't feel bad about doing antidepressants when I do them, because it's a necessary tool in my life at that moment.
Exactly.
But it's like, how long can I go without them? How depressed can I feel without them? How much can I be in that state without wrecking my life? And then and same thing with the job, right? It's like, if you want to be a billionaire or make $100,000 a month, it's like, okay, you want to make $100,000 a month. Let's not quit our job that pays $3,000 a month right away. Let's keep the $3,000 job. And let's just go see how much money we can make outside of that.
Exactly.
And see how much expanded we can have. And then it's like, okay, now I actually feel safer about this to
totally how we go. It's gone on 100%.
Yeah. Maybe there isn't a right answer, but maybe that's a little bit closer. Where do you see no, I don't even feel like I have any other real questions for you. I do have one question that was pressing for me in my business, selfishly.
Cool.
How do you see the difference between marketing? I think I asked you this before the podcast. Like, what's the difference between marketing someone as like getting the job versus marketing like an offer like yours? So, because both are like, you have to present a value equation. You have to say, hey, I'm the right fit for this job because, and then in your business, you're saying you should buy this thing because. But what's the difference? What have you noticed are the differences between getting a job versus selling an info offer?
Yeah, I'll probably tease out a really good, well, who knows how good of an answer it'll be as I tease it out, but I think there are a lot of similarities actually. I feel like what I've done well, and like our approach is pretty different to what other people in the market do, but it's been really effective because I've spent so much time learning marketing for business purposes. And I basically just apply that to the job search in a lot of ways. So just some specific examples, a resume, it's the same thing. You have to capture attention. You have to, and convince them to take action, right? So it's really about hooks. Like when one of my coaches is like, hey, Delaney, this person, I really want to make sure we crush this resume. Can you take a look at it? I will look at it for like 4 seconds because I don't even care about the conscious element. I'm like, is this engaging my brain or not? And it's like, no, it's like, you need more numbers here. The sentence structure is wrong. Like this just hurts me to look at. And here's why. And it's just that super like reptilian brain that I'm trying to engage, because that's the hard part. It's like, you want to go on YouTube, focus all your energy on your title and your thumbnail. And if people click it, they'll watch it. Like that's a leading indicator. Do that first. So
80-20.
Yeah. And that's like the whole point about, is that lying on your resume? It's like, get your foot in the door and then let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Like,
and then are you a person of integrity that can come in on the back end and go, hey, for clarity, I don't have blah, 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 but you're at least having the conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. You can frame it in a way where you're not over-promising and completely being...
It's like on a dating app, like every dude should have a photo in a suit. It's like, it doesn't matter if you wear a suit to your job. You can explain that.
Exactly.
But let's show that you're presentable, that you're...
Exactly.
It's like, let's at least have that indication that you're not... Yeah. You own a suit. And then we can figure out, hey, I actually don't own a suit. I rented it. But
exactly. Yeah. I think the other thing I think a lot about that's made us effective as well is it's so similar in that you have to really deeply understand the person that's on the other side of the table, right? In a company, you're running a business. You need to understand your avatar. You need to understand how they think, so then you can adapt your copy, your content, your offer to them and present it in a way that resonates with them. This is the way I think about all stuff, is what is the user journey from the other perspective? The user journey is the recruiter. So put yourself in the recruiter's mind. What needs to be seen and what boxes do you need to check so they are like, you're dumb, obviously, the person to talk to, right? So it's all those things of all the hooks on the resume, but it's also like, okay, the recruiter probably doesn't know a fucking thing about software. So you actually have too much buzzwords and junk in your resume that like the hiring manager might love this, but the recruiter doesn't know what the fuck any of this is, and it's too complicated. Their brain hurts, so they just swipe left.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing of like really understanding the nuances of the other person's eyeballs and all the other people involved in the process.
Yeah.
So
Who are you talking to, and can you tailor your conversation to?
yeah. And also another element too is just like the marketing, branding, and packaging too, right? So it's like you could be amazing, but if you don't have a profile picture, like we had a client, everything was going well, and he actually had the setting on his LinkedIn. I was like, actually, everything was not going well. Everything should have been. It was all perfect, but he's not getting any hits. And he had the setting on that we didn't even know was a thing at the time, which was if you're not a connection, it doesn't show your profile picture.
Show me.
Yeah, the picture. So it's like he had a profile picture and we saw it, but we were all connected to him. So like,
Yeah.
but no one else was seeing it and we couldn't figure it out. But it was like,
no.
you can be maybe a little bit like, the paper. And yeah. So it's that same thing of just the packaging, like having, even if it's an AI generated headshot that looks nice.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah. It's because it's like, it's Tinder. The job market, I compare it to Tinder, where it's like, if you have the tiniest yellow flag, there are thousands of people left in your swipe. So just swipe left if there's even one yellow flag. So your packaging has to look nice too.
Yeah, 100%. It's the hook matters more than anything.
Exactly. The hook matters.
Yeah, I love that. Delaney, do you have anything else you want to share?
No, it's been fantastic.
Dude, what are those?
Appreciate you having me.
Yeah.
This is great.
Oh,
On the ground.
yeah. I mean, sounds like work out, eat steak, go to yoga, and
Regulate your nervous system.
regulating
Get a couple jobs.
Yeah, and stack a couple of jobs.
Capacity.
Dial in your resume, stack a couple jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Stuff. Delaney, where can people find you if they want to connect?
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Delaney William _, YouTube Delaney-William. And our website is elevatedtech.us.
Okay, where's the best place for someone to connect and get everything else?
Instagram.
Instagram. So
Yeah.
one place to go. Instagram, Delaney William, no S, and then underscore.
Exactly.
So Delaney William _
Exactly.
What does your profile picture look like? So then find that.
It's my face. There's like a pink background. Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Easy.
I love that. DM Delaney on Instagram, Delaney William _ Go ahead and DM him BackTracks so he knows you came from the podcast.
Love that.
Obviously, hit his YouTube. Go to the website if you're looking to stack some jobs. You know where to go now. Anything else?
No, appreciate it. This has been amazing.
Rock and roll. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment your favorite part of the podcast, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you again. Peace.
Let's go.
Oh.
That was great, dude.
And then I always end with this is still recording, so this will be the
Okay, cool.
This is the best part. Well, all right, 1, 2, 3.